You may have seen this video on your Instagram For You page. Since I uploaded that video, so many people reached out to me to ask how it was created. So I decided to create this video to again open up my old After Effects project file and give you all a tutorial and a breakdown of the project. Okay, so here I got the project file and I did some changes in a later version. So there is some extra footage and effects on here, but we're just focused on the original one, this shot right here. And instead of just giving you a breakdown of the finished project here, I will try to recreate it with the footage as best as possible, of course. So we're just gonna create a completely new composition and then use the footage from this clip here to recreate it. So here, this is the original clip. And so what we need right now is the different layers. And I think the colors are a bit weird here too, but we'll just fix that later on. So first we're gonna decide when the transition is going to happen. So I think that's around here, and we're gonna create a cut. And I think I like to offset it a bit so that I'm turning into the paper effects earlier than the actual full transition happens. So it's like around here. We're gonna set a marker here so we know the transition is going to happen there. And now, first of all, we're gonna cut out ourselves. So we are going to go into rotor brush, then we are double clicking on the footage and then using the rotor brush here in the window, we will cut out ourselves. So it's up here if you don't know. So we're just gonna try to cut out as clean as possible. And so now once you cut out one frame, you can just let it play and then it should do a pretty good job at cutting out the rest of the frames. And you can just pause and do some adjustments. Now here you can see it's not perfect and we'll just fix it and then let it run the rest of the frames. And once we're happy with this result, we can just freeze, click freeze here, and After Effects will just apply the cutout to the footage. Okay, so now once we have the cutout, you can just check mark this one here, and now you can see the final cutout. And it's not perfect, as we can see here. There are some frames where we have some little things still sticking out, but I think this is fine for the purpose we're doing right now for the video. So now we can just go here, just take that up to 70, then shift edge, take it like to -5, and then feather it to about 20. And now we should have like at least a better result than before. And now you can name these layers. I actually don't name my layers. I'm not a good After Effects user, but you probably should do that. So it's best to get used to it before you end up like me. So this one we can call like background or just BG, and this one just me. So now that we got this one, we can just start to add the paper effects over here. And I'm just gonna freestyle a bit, so I'm not gonna recreate the accurate 100% first shot as we can see here, but we can still use it as like inspiration. So we see here, the paper comes along, and then here, about here, I turn into paper myself. So we can just create the background. And for that, I'm actually using some paper textures, as you can see here. I think I used this one. I can link some down below, but I'm not sure if they're free, so I think I used some paid ones. But you can just find some free ones. I can try to link some. Else I'm using the paper textures from Envato Elements. And now we're just gonna import them and scale it down to about, what is it, 35? Yeah, this is fine. And then you can see it's not the length of the composition, so we're just gonna duplicate it with Command D, and then we're gonna pre-compose it with Command Shift C. We're just gonna call it paper texture 1. And now if you put this below me, you can already see we have the first thing we had in the final video here. We're just gonna move the marker because I think the transition for me should happen around here. So we have a bit of time for the paper to evolve and get bigger. And what we want now is a mask that covers the whole screen, like about here, like one frame after I turn into paper. So what we're going to do is just create a random mask from a random shape. So you just want to create some dots out here. So we're going to create the last frame here, and then we're going to animate it inwards. Once you have that mask that covers the whole screen, like the whole paper, we'll just go back here and then set a keyframe for mask path. And then we'll just go back 3 frames, and we'll do that for every 3 frames right now. And we're just gonna take these dots here back and just create some random shapes, as you can see here. And I think in this case we'll just go back 2 frames and do that for every second frame. And here in the first frame, the paper should not be visible, so you can just like put the mask as small as it fits behind yourself. So we're just gonna have this behind myself. And now you can see we still need the cutout of myself to have the paper texture go behind it. So we're just gonna duplicate myself or just create a cut here. So we still have the transition point for the paper. So we just type me paper for this layer and then me cut out. So now we have the paper coming in from behind here. And now what you can see, this doesn't look like stop motion, it's way too smooth. So what we're gonna do is mark all these keyframes and then right click on it and press toggle hold keyframes. So what that does, it doesn't move in between the keyframes, it just moves every second frame. And that's kind of the stop motion that we want. And this is maybe a bit too fast, so I'll just create 1 frame in between here, so the cut isn't too hard from the last mask to the full screen paper texture. And now we have this animation. And now we want to add these paper edges, these white paper edges. So we're just gonna add the stroke effect, and this plugin is free, it's called FX Console. It can save you a lot of time if you just want to apply effects like faster. So you go to effects and type stroke, and then you put this to something around 10. I'll maybe take 11, 14, we'll see what looks best. And then the brush hardness to 100%. And what we're gonna do now, to roughen it up a bit, we're gonna add the roughen edges effect and then take this one up. We're just gonna have to see what fits best. This is really, you need to look at your footage and decide on your own how much you're gonna add of this. And then just adjust the order, take it up, take the edge sharpness to 10, and then adjust the scale to what you like the most. I think this is looking pretty decent. So what we're gonna do now to make this move every 3rd frame as well, we are going to create a keyframe for the evolution. So we're just gonna click here, we're gonna match it up with the old keyframes we have here already from the mask, and then we'll click keyframe for the evolution and then just press U on your keyboard. And now you can see both the keyframes, so we just matched them up and then change the value to something random every 2nd frame. And once you've done that, you also just want to apply toggle hold keyframe. And now in the last frame you can see the roughen edges is still like visible. If we just want a full screen of the paper texture, we just want to remove it. So you're going to create a keyframe for the border and just put it 1 frame before the last frame of the mask animation and just put this to 0. And now you have it removed and there's no animation because it's just 1 frame. And so now what we want is to get a different layer of paper. I think I had 2 in the original one. Let me just check. Yes. Now this time I'm just going to use an image, so I think I'll take something like this. And then we're basically going to create the same thing as I just told you, and we're just going to rotate this by 90 degrees and then scale it down to our likings here. Yeah, I'll just go ahead and create the same effect as I just did for the black paper. So now we have this here, and this is already most of the background we actually use for this shot. So now we're going to focus on myself, and we are going to start by cutting out the eyes, and it's not that bad as it sounds. We're just gonna use the pen tool here. So what you're gonna want is just to create a rough cutout around the eye. You're just gonna have to decide on your own how much you want with it, like the eyebrows, or how much like down below here. But I'm not gonna do too much. And what we're gonna do is activate the keyframe for mask path. Just press M twice to open up the mask settings. And then we're gonna go 3 frames, 1, 2, 3. And then we're gonna adjust it here. And we're just gonna do that for the whole sequence here. And then later on, we're gonna add the same effect as we did to the background paper. So we're gonna add the crumbled paper edges and yeah, just the white stroke as well. And also we want the eyes to turn into paper a bit before myself. So I'm just gonna extend this clip here and then just fit it here again, the mask. And just make sure to remove the rotor brush effect And now we're gonna do the same thing before applying any effects to the other eye as well. So we just duplicate this layer, remove the old mask, and then go to the first frame and create a new one. So now we got these two eyes, and we're gonna name them again so I don't forget. So this is eye left and eye right. And now we can start adding effects to this. And what I did in my original version, I had this animation of it opening up. So I think I'll do the same here. And then I'll just add a keyframe here at this place for both of them. And then we'll just change the first keyframes here to have like a closing or like opening animation. And then we can just add a toggle to hold to the keyframes again. And this looks a bit weird for now, but it's gonna look better in the end. And what we're gonna add firstly is the posterized time effect. So just drag that onto both of your eyes and then type 12. So now we have a lower frame rate. It's exactly the half of my 24 frames composition. Here we can see the difference of the 12 frames here and the 24 frames. And we're just gonna copy this effect to the left eye as well. And now we're gonna add the stroke effects, and we'll just put it up to something that is fitting for now. I think it's about like 5. And then take the hardness up again, and then add the roughen edges. And now just take the sharpness to 10 again. And once we have that, we're gonna take the posterized time and put them below the stroke and the roughen edges effect. And then we'll go up to the roughen edges effect and then animate, set a keyframe for the evolution here to 0, and then move forward by like 4 or 5 frames, and then set it to a random value. And I like to offset all these different keyframes here, so it doesn't move at the same time, to just like give it a bit of character. Now I just want to do this a couple of frames, and then you can duplicate these ones. Just make sure you have the same spacing in between the keyframes so it doesn't look weird. And now we're just gonna mark them all and add toggle hold keyframe again. And now we can see the white edges shifting every 4th frame, I think. And if that's too fast for your taste, you can just remove every second one. I actually think this is a bit too fast, so you can just tweak all these settings to your likings, and I'll just remove every second keyframe here. There's probably a better way to doing this than I'm doing now, but I don't know this software that well. Now we got this result, and we can just apply these two effects to the left eye as well, and then of course drag the posterized time below these two effects. And now what we're gonna add is some different random effects to give it a bit of a like weird style. So I think this right eye is, or the left eye is going to start off by having a comic texture. So we're just gonna create a cut here, and then I'm gonna add the M's halftone effect. And this is a paid plugin as well, but I'm gonna link it in the description. Pretty sure there's a way to create this in After Effects. This just works better for me and is faster, of course. And now we just wanna like switch it up a bit and just add and remove some effects for some of the frames. So we're just gonna create random cuts and then add random effects to this. So this could like have a black paper texture. So we're just gonna add, let's take this one for example. Just gonna add this one, then rescale it, and then set it to the length of the clip we need it for. And then we're just gonna take this one and set the track matte to the eye. So now you have this dark paper texture on top of it, and we're gonna choose hard light. So now it's like on top of it. Or actually, let's just keep it at normal. Maybe that looks cool as well. So just gonna have it glitch around and have some different effects for like a couple of frames, and then go back to normal again. So this is what the eyes should look like finished. What we're doing next is just cleaning this up a bit, because this looks like a lot already. So we're just gonna mark all the clips that are to the right eye, and then we're just gonna name it right eye, and then take all the left eye clips and just name it left eye. So now this composition looks way cleaner already, and we're gonna add some basic paper textures to all of the layers in the end, so it's good to have them organized a bit. And so now we're gonna focus on the main thing here, and we're gonna add the posterized time effect firstly as well. So we're just gonna put this to 12. And now we have a low frame rate version of myself as well, but just after the paper is already out, so around here it's gonna start. And now I think I'm just gonna pre-compose this and just name it Me Paper Cutout. And now we're gonna go up to Layer, then Auto Trace, and then Work Area, and then just hit OK. And then After Effects will just create a mask around the subject on its own, since we've already cut it out. We're using a roller brush, and now we can see we got this mask here, and we're gonna use that to add a stroke as well, because the stroke effect needs a mask to be applied to. So we're just gonna choose mask 1, it's already selected, and now we can do the same thing as for all the other layers. And we can just go into the eye composition here and just copy the roughen edges effect, because we've already set a lot of random keyframes on here. So we can just tweak these settings here a bit. So we don't want them this detailed, more like this, and a bit bigger I think. And now what we can see, because of the posterized time effect, this actually goes back and this doesn't look too good. So we're just gonna find the point where we move to the next frame, which is 2 frames later, and we're just gonna move the transition point 2 frames back. But this totally depends on your footage and how it works for you. And now we are going to add a paper texture to this one as well. And I think I'll go with this one. So we're just going to, the length is actually perfect for this clip, that's crazy. And just adjust the scale again, because these clips are in 4K I think. So we're going to add the track matte to the clip below again, and then just activate the visibility again, because it's going to be deactivated automatically. And we're just gonna take the blend mode to soft light, and we can just separate these layers, so we can just have a look at those. And now we can see we already got the paper texture on here and the low frame rate, so this already looks like kind of paper stop motion animation. And what I did in the original one is I added a lumetri color effect to take down the contrast in the clip. So we're just gonna take down the contrast to -100, and then go to Creative tab and take the fade film up a bit as well. So now this is the difference, the before and after, because if it was real paper, it wouldn't really have that much contrast. And now that's basically it for the base effect. Now we're just going to add these glitch frames like we did with the eyes. But for that I'm going to pre-comp the paper texture layer and the footage to a Me Final. I guess I don't usually name my layers, so I don't know how to do this, but I'm just gonna create a random cuts here and take sequences out. And then what I did in the first video, in the original one, is I added this glitch video I had from Footage Crate, I think, and I took about this frame, and then I just added the track matte again, and then took the blend mode to screen, and maybe the opacity down to 40 or a bit higher, 60 maybe. And you're just gonna have to experiment around a bit and see what looks best for you. But this is pretty cool already. And now we're just gonna go back a bit and add the halftone effect. Just take this up to like 13 or something. You're just gonna have to see what looks best for you. I think about 7 is good. And I think I also added a second glitch effect on here. So I'm just gonna see what else I have, and then we're just gonna add it for a different frame here. Yeah, so I think we're done with the cutout of myself. And now we can also just create a pre-comp of myself here, because it's too many layers and it just gets chaotic. So just create a pre-comp with Command-Shift-C again, and then call this Me Cutout Final again, because we already had that name. And now you can see the eyes look a bit different and it's not really matching that well. So we're gonna go into the first pre-comp here, and then duplicate or copy the lumetri color effect, go back here and apply that to the eyes as well. And now you can already see it looks way better. And I think I may add a drop shadow effect as well. So we're gonna have a bit of a shadow here. We just make it a bit softer and distance it not as much. And then just add this to the left eye as well. And now, of course, the last thing that is missing are the two lines that come out of the eyes here. And this is actually very simple. All you have to do is just go up here and create the pen tool again, and then just have no layer selected, so we create a new shape layer and just start from the frame where you want the animation to begin, and then just set a point here and then just draw out the path you want this line to take. So here you just want to have it really smooth so it looks organic as real handwriting. It's pretty hard to make it as natural as possible, but after a bit of tweaking you should come up with a decent result. And then you go down here to the shape layers, to contents, shape 1, and then to fill, and you just want to delete the fill. Then go to stroke and take it like to 7, I think. This is a bit too much, like 3. And now you can see you already have this basic line. And of course this isn't animated and it isn't fitted to the length of the composition, so we're just gonna create a cut here, then remove it, and now we're going to put it below the eyes, as you can see here. And you're going to open up again here the contents, shape 1, and then you're going to press add and then press T and add trim paths, and then you can see you can animate the path of it. So just going to take the endpoint and set it to 0, then set a keyframe for that, go to the point where you want the animation to end, and then take it out here. And then you're gonna set a keyframe for the start, where you want the line to start disappear again, and then take it to 100 about here. Here you're going to see for yourself how long you want this animation of the line to go, but I think this is decent. And then you can just go into the graph editor with the keyframe selected, and then start tweaking a bit with the timing of the frames. So this animation looks fine, but now you can see it's not behind my eye anymore, so I'm gonna see what I can do to fix that. And I think we're just gonna have to adjust the path here. So just make sure that it's covered up by the eye at all times. So this is perfect. As you can see here, it comes up from behind and then disappears again. And what we want to add here is, of course, a paper texture again. Then place it where you need it and adjust the length. This is long enough already. And then again, set the track matte to the line, and then set this to hard light. And now what we're going to add is a turbulent displace also. And then you can just tweak this a bit. I usually go down on the sides a bit, so we get this imperfect line, just to make it look a bit more natural. So it's not as perfect, so you can see the difference here. And now we're just going to create another line here for the second eye and just do everything over again, just in a different color and a different path. And this is basically the whole effect, as you can see now, with the two lines coming out of the eyes. And of course you can add a lot of detail now, like for the lines, a drop shadow as well, like this here, or a posterized time effect as I did for the first one here. So you can just apply it on this one and maybe give it like 9 frames per second, but I don't think this is smooth enough. So we're just gonna keep it up at around 12 FPS. And the last thing I added in the original one is a camera shake when the transition happens, and that you can just do. I have a paid plugin for that as well, but you can just do it with some wiggle expressions. But here I'll just go down here to the production crate camera shake and then apply this effect where the transition happens. So this here is the final result of my recreation of the iconic shot. I really like this new version as well, because I could try some new things with the old footage. And here you can see the side-by-side of our creation right now and the original. If you want another video on sound design or some other topics that might interest you, just comment down below and I'll try to create all the videos that you guys need to create awesome content. So thanks for watching and keep naming your After Effects layers.